You've heard the word blockchain, right? It's everywhere. People are saying it's going to change, well, everything. From money to art, you name it. But what is it really? It sounds super complicated, but the main idea behind it is actually pretty simple and kind of genius. So today we're going to break it all down, so you know exactly what everyone's talking about.
Okay, so if you go look it up, you'll probably find a definition that looks a lot like this: an open, distributed ledger. And yeah, that's technically right, but it doesn't really help much, does it? Let's just think of this as our formal, technical starting line. Now, let's translate it into plain English. Okay, forget all that jargon. The absolute best way to get a handle on blockchain is to picture a shared Google Doc. Now imagine this isn't just stored on one computer, but it's copied and shared across thousands of them. And whenever someone adds a new line, everyone's copy updates at the same time. No one person owns it, and everybody is looking at the exact same thing. That's it. That's the big idea. Simple, right? Let's build on that. To really get it, though, we've got to pop the hood and see how it works. We're going to see how this digital notebook is put together in a way that makes it so secure and trustworthy. We'll basically build one from the ground up, starting with its most basic piece, the block.
The secret sauce to a blockchain security really comes down to 3 simple steps. First, you gather up some data, say a list of payments, and put it into a container, which we call a block. Second, that block gets a totally unique digital fingerprint called a hash. It's like a seal of authenticity that's impossible to fake. And third, and this is the magic ingredient, each new block includes the fingerprint of the block that came before it. That's what links them all together. That's what makes it a chain.
So just think of each block as a single page in our shared digital notebook. It can record pretty much anything: financial transactions, medical records, even who owns a piece of digital art. Once that page is full of data, it gets sealed and added to the notebook forever.
And here's where the security becomes, well, almost unbreakable. Remember that unique fingerprint, the hash? Well, if anyone tries to go back and secretly change something on an old page, even just one tiny little comma, the fingerprint for that block completely changes. And since the next block in the chain is looking for the old fingerprint, the link between them just shatters. The chain literally snaps, and everyone on the network can see that something's wrong.
You know, even though we all think of Bitcoin when we hear blockchain, the idea itself has actually been around for a while. The core concept of a cryptographically secured chain of blocks was first described way back in 1991. The original idea was just to timestamp digital documents, so you couldn't tamper with them. It wasn't until 2009, with Bitcoin, that the technology really exploded into the mainstream.
So, we have this incredibly secure chain of records. But where does it live? This is where the idea goes from just clever to truly revolutionary. Instead of being stored in one central place, like a bank server, it lives everywhere at once. Let's dig into how this decentralized network creates a whole new way of establishing trust. Every computer that's part of the network is called a node. And what's wild is that each of these nodes keeps a full, identical copy of the entire blockchain, our shared Google Doc. So there isn't one master copy sitting on a server somewhere. There are thousands of master copies. This means there's no single point of failure, and no one person or company is in control. And this unique setup is what gives blockchain its most important features. It's decentralized, because no one's in charge. It's immutable, meaning once something is written down, it can't be changed. It's transparent, since everyone on the network can see the ledger. And when you put all of that together, you get incredible security. These 4 pillars create a system where you don't have to trust a company or a government, you just have to trust the math. But wait a minute. If there are thousands of computers, all with a copy of the ledger, how do they all agree on what the next page should say? Well, that's a process called consensus. Think of it as a set of rules that all the nodes have to follow to agree that a new block of transactions is valid before it gets added to the chain. It really is like everyone in a classroom voting to agree that the new information is correct before it gets written down for good.
Now, it's really important to know that blockchain isn't just one thing. Not all blockchains are created equal. Just like you can have a public website anyone can see or a private company intranet, there are different kinds of blockchains built for very different jobs.
The main difference really boils down to a trade-off between control and openness. On one hand, you have public blockchains, like Bitcoin. They're completely open. Anyone can join, and they're truly decentralized. But all that work to stay in sync can make them kind of slow. On the other hand, a private blockchain, maybe used by a big company for its supply chain, is way faster and more efficient because it's controlled by one organization. The trade-off? You lose that decentralization and have to trust that one company.
And of course, there are options in the middle. Hybrid or consortium blockchains try to get the best of both worlds. Maybe the security of a public chain with the speed of a private one. The big takeaway here is that blockchain isn't a product. It's more like a flexible blueprint that can be adapted to solve all sorts of different problems.
So let's get to the big question. What is all this cool tech actually good for, besides cryptocurrencies? This is where we look at the incredible real-world potential, but also we have to be honest about the major roadblocks it's facing.
One of the most mind-blowing applications is something called a smart contract. And honestly, the vending machine analogy here is perfect. A smart contract is just a program that lives on the blockchain and automatically runs when its rules are met. You put in the right coins, the snack comes out. Simple. No cashier needed. This could automate everything from insurance claims to voting systems.
The promise is massive. We're talking about a world with more transparency, rock-solid security, and way fewer middlemen taking a cut. But, and it's a big but, we're not there yet. The technology has some huge challenges. Public blockchains can be really slow, and some of them use a shocking amount of energy. On top of that, the rules and regulations around the world are a total mess, and actually plugging this new tech into our old systems is a giant headache.
And that leaves us right here with this final question. Blockchain gives us a totally new way to trust each other online without needing a big bank or a tech company in the middle. But its future, its ability to really change the world, depends on solving these very real, very tough problems. Can it get faster? Can it become more energy efficient? Can it find its place in our legal systems? That's the billion-dollar question that everyone in this space is racing to answer right now. Thanks for joining me on The Explainer.